Hey friends, come on in. I'm going to draw for you a really simple pumpkin, and this will kick off your fall. Get started here. I'm just getting out my colors. Okay, so let's start with drawing our pumpkin. Actually, I'm going to paint the base. Let me paint the base first. I'm going to grab this dragon teal and pull this out here. And I think I'm going to add just a little bit of white and lighten it up just a touch. So it's a little lighter than what it's showing here. Yeah, that's better. And then you'll see what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with this dragon teal, kind of get this going, get a lot of the paint off of my brush. But before it dries, I'm going to start in with my next color. So I'm going to grab that gold, and we're going to just add some of this in along with it. Should be a really pretty fall background. Just X motions to get those kind of blended, but I want a painterly look for my background. This is going to be the easiest little pumpkin you've ever done. I'm kind of letting some of these brush strokes show. I just think it's a pretty look for this. And I need to dry it so we can do a little more to it, because the more you mess with it, the more you keep going over it, the more it's going to turn to one color. So I'm going to go ahead and do the sides real quick. This is a 6-inch canvas, and it's on a nice sturdy wood base, 1.5 inches. And I like to use these if I'm going to paint something kind of small, because it's very substantial and it can sit up on its own like a shelf sitter. It's a great size to gift to somebody or to take to work or your desk, you know, have it just sitting there somewhere on a shelf. So I like doing these sometimes. Let's see if I can set that down without getting my fingers all over it. The top is drying. I'm going to add some more of this teal just in these little brush strokes so that you can see the brush strokes. And this should tell you that our pumpkin, ooh, look at that. Our pumpkin is going to be light colored. So I told you this is going to be non-traditional, but the technique will be the same whether you want to do, you know, typical fall colors or something like this. Okay, I think I like that. I'm gonna put, I know we're gonna have a pumpkin here, so it won't matter that this is not, you know, super covered well. See the white, that's the white of the canvas, but I'm gonna go ahead and do another coat just so that it's good and complete. So I'm gonna focus on the outer portion, of course. I will go back and so grab a little bit of that gold and do the same thing. Just brush that on. I really love seeing the brush strokes, and so we don't want to over blend. You can do whatever you want on the base coat, but then once you get to this, then you're going to be intentional on where you know, not over blending. And then this right here, I know will be covered with our pumpkin, so I'm not too worried about that. Now, a minute ago, I added some white to it, and I like that, so I am going to go back and do that again. So I'm going to take just the smallest amount of white. Start with a little bit. Yeah, see, that's definitely enough to give it that contrast without being overbearing. Okay. Easy background, but it's unique and different than just painting it a solid color. Okay, we're ready to do our pumpkin, and I'm going to show you how to draw just a simple pumpkin design. So we can do some fancier ones, but for just your basic pumpkin, I'm gonna find the center of my canvas, so about here. You know, if you need to, you can, like, sometimes I'll make little lines and kind of where they intersect. I know that's the center. And we're gonna shoot for that to be the center of this first oval. So just kind of make your oval. Now this is a charcoal pencil, which is similar to chalk. So you can come back and widen it up, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just kind of, now that I've got that down, I'm gonna widen it just a little bit. Pumpkins are not perfect, so this drawing does not have to be perfect. I'm going to come right beside it. I'm going to come down just a little bit. So, you know, if this is the top, maybe half an inch or so, and do another little curved portion of our pumpkin, and then bring it to the base. We're going to do the same thing on this side. Now see, my left side is never as good. It never matches up perfect, but again, that's okay. Now this one, we're gonna come up here to the top of, you know, like you've got this bump, and I'm coming kind of to the top of it, and I'm gonna do one more. This is my last one, and I'm gonna bring it about here, you know, maybe not quite as low, because it's further back. So something like that, you see? And then we'll do our stem, and I always do the same kind of stem where it's like kind of wiggly, wonky. It's just how I've always done them. I'm going to kind of just start out there, kind of make it imperfect, and then bring this to about there. And then this one again to about there. Something like that. So this right here is my little stem. And then we'll do, you know, like a curly hues or something coming out of it. So something like that. Easy, right? So just oval and then curve, curve. You know, you've got your oval, curve, curve. So hopefully that is easy for you guys. So let's get started with our pumpkin. So because I went so bold on the background and everything, I'm going much more simple on my pumpkin. So I'm gonna take a lot of this white. I'm just moving it over. That's what I do. Always just kind of move some over. And I'm gonna grab that brown, just a bunch, you know, some on the tip, and mix these together until I get the color I want. Which that's good right there, but since I'm gonna grab more paint, I'm gonna grab a little more brown. I'm also gonna grab some more brown and put over here with less white. And I'm gonna start with my light brown, start with that, and start at the bottom and just kind of come up a few swipes on each pumpkin, because I want the darkest part of my pumpkin to be down here at the bottom. So just a few swipes going up will get us started. Now I'm just grabbing my brush, loading it full of this lighter color, and starting kind of coming down. Now I am going to leave just a spot. We've got like a little bit of room in between. And just kind of start filling this in. You notice that it's kind of a, I guess, a dry brush kind of look. You know, you can see a little bit of the canvas through it. So that's just a particular technique on this kind of pumpkin. And I really love letting some of the colors show through and kind of dry brushing even on top of what we do. So we're not trying to get good coverage. That's not the goal of this one. Okay, you've got already, look how cute. You've already got your good base going. Okay, let's get our brush wet. Tap it off on our paper towel pretty good, because like I said, this is more of a little bit of a dry painting. I'm gonna grab some of my brown, and if there's a little, you know, of the light on here, that's fine, but I'm just gonna kind of pull this out and get my brush into a point, and I'm gonna come in between each little area with that brown. I'm trying to have a light touch. I don't want like a dark brown. So that is good that it's looking pretty light right now. Okay. Now, that's about all I need. I'm going to kind of put a little more of this light white. I added white to this, so we've got an area that's a little bit lighter. I'm going to come up here and just do another round. Because we did more of a dry brush technique, it's already pretty dry. You know, it's not like we're having to sit around and wait or blow dry or anything. It's just already pretty dry. We're adding a little bit of this light to the top and kind of down the front. Okay, we're going to come over here, you know, mix up that kind of milky brown and kind of come back and give us a little bit right here. Right there. You'll lose a little bit as you're putting your light on. You might lose some down here at the bottom. I'm just kind of adding a little bit back down here at the bottom. Taking the kind of medium, it's a little bit darker than what we added the white to. I'm going to try to fix this side because I kind of got a little wild right there. A lot of this pumpkin is personal preference. So if you get to the point, you know, on yours that you like the way it looks, then you just stop. You know, you don't have to keep going. But you see how quick it is? I mean, technically you could stop here and it would be just fine. Now, I don't want to have too heavy of a hand, but I'm going to bring some of a little bit of this brown up. And then I've got to make those a little more even, so. Just using kind of the tip of the brush to kind of make these look a little more even. Even though you know a pumpkin is never going to be perfect. Even when you go pick one out, they're not perfect. So it's a great painting to experiment with because it'd be kind of weird if your pumpkin was perfect, right? We do try to pick a good one, but lots of them have bumps and ridges and weird spots, and that's perfectly fine. Let's do our stem, and I think I can do it with this one brush. I'm going to start with just the brown and kind of wiggle my brush so that it's not perfect. Just kind of bring it into those little sections, the areas in between the sections. Now here's what you're not going to expect. We are going to pick up just a touch of our, I want to say copper, but it's rose gold. And let that run through it. Now, even with the brown, I'm getting quite a bit more, and I'm going to come over here and just swipe some on. I've got a pretty gentle touch. I'm not, you know, going too much. Just kind of feathering it on really would be a good way to describe it. Would you put a lid? Oh yes, Judy, always. You get that in the VIP group. You get a color sheet with all the colors and the brushes and everything. All right, let me go to our detail brush, just a small liner brush is what I'm using. And I'm using this copper, well, I keep calling it copper, it's rose gold. And we're gonna twist our brush, load it up with paint, and do a little copper. I don't think I'm even gonna stick to my little, what do you call it? Chalk. It's not too hard to stick to. Maybe I can do it. Just adding little bits. Come back with a little of our light brown. And add a little highlight. Fresh brown. I was gonna come back with just dark here at this side. So you've got a highlight on one side and then just your solid brown on this other. And I'm using that liner brush to kind of finish out where the roots of that are kind of going down into the pumpkin. Okay. All right, let's take a look and just kind of, you know, you're just kind of finishing it up however you want. I'm going to put back a little bit of light, a little bit of leftover on there. I know I'm kind of covering my copper, but I have a reason. I'm going to come back and add it just where I want it. But to me, the beauty of acrylic painting is how well it does with layers. It needs layers, and it will look more and more interesting every time you add a layer. So I've always liked to do lots of layers. Still not dark enough. So once I kind of have the colors how I want them, the last thing I'm doing is taking some pure white and adding just a little bit of dry brushing with the pure white on top of, you know, what I've done. So no water on my brush, just using it as is for this white. And I'm not putting any down at the bottom, only on the front and tops. Okay. I'm going to dry this, and then last step will be to add some more of our rose gold back in. I think I probably have enough in the stem, but let me, yeah. You just kind of, sometimes you have to hold it at an angle. I'm going to add just a few. Okay, hold on, we're going to do a few of those in our actual painting with one of my dry brushes. So dry brushes are awesome. They're better than just using a paintbrush to do it. And so I'm gonna take some of that copper, rose gold, sorry. I will never not call it copper, I'm sure. And tap off a lot of it. And I actually usually tap it off like quite a bit. And then I can add it on. Okay, so remember we've got our rose gold on here. We tapped off a whole lot. And I'm gonna start with just a, you know, a light touch about medium ways and down. I'd rather do too little and have to go back and do more than have just a huge, you know, scrape of it. A little chunky right there, but we're just gonna kind of chunk it out over here too. You know, if you get a whole bunch somewhere that you didn't intend, you can either go back over it with your lighter paint, or you can just add some to the other side and kind of looks like you intended it. So that's what I'm doing here, just kind of adding a little more to that one section there. Okay, let's see. Oh, it looks so pretty in the light. Y'all see that? I was going to do just a little bit of something to ground it here at the bottom. So I'm going to get out some brown. I think I'm going to use some teal. Let's see how those two play together. Let's just take a look. I think that will be enough to give me some darkness. Let's just kind of put a little bit of this down here. Get rid of that yellow gold right there. You can also kind of clean up if you need to there. I might even use a little black. Taking a little black and mixing it with that brown and teal to darken it up a little further. And I may end up really putting a lot. So yeah, I like that. So see, get it pretty dark. It's kind of just gives you a base down here to ground that pumpkin so it's not just floating in midair. And I wanted to keep it simple. I didn't want to do hay or anything on this one. Just let the pumpkin shine. Okay, let's take a look. And I really hope that you'll find time to be creative. I have the private group. If you're interested, just go to my website, artgracepaint.com. Appreciate you guys so much, and I hope you have a wonderful evening and a good weekend. Bye, guys.